Good morning. It's Tuesday, January 27th, International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It was chosen on this day because on January 27th, 1945, the Red Army, that's the Soviet military, liberated Auschwitz. On accident. They happened upon it. Happened upon one of humanity's greatest horrors. The day before troops arrived, 56,000 prisoners were sent on a death march, which meant that there were only 7,000 prisoners in the three main camps. That's Auschwitz, Monowitz, and Birkenau. They were sent on that death march because although the Red Army was advancing upon German forces, they were doing it to secure territory and defeat Berlin. They didn't know Auschwitz was, Auschwitz. But the Nazis knew someone was coming, and so they sent 56,000 prisoners to die. The 7,000 people that were left behind were sick or old, and many of those died later, after help came, because they were so weak. And so on this day, we honor these 6 million Jewish people who were killed in that genocide. But we also need to understand that the Holocaust didn't just happen. For the first 6 years of Hitler's rule, the Nazis changed Germany from a multi-party republic to a single-party dictatorship. Jews were not just murdered. At first, they were made to be seen as outcasts. They were banned from politics, journalism, most schooling. Books that were seen as un-German were banned and burned. During this time, Germany hosted the Olympics. German passports held by Jews were invalidated until they were stamped with the letter J. Jewish-owned businesses were closed. This was a horror that unfolded in steps. And we can't know what was on everyone's mind at the point, but I'm sure that there were people who considered themselves to be good people, who were horrified to see what was happening and kept saying that it couldn't get worse. It wouldn't go further. And then it would go further. And they would say, but this has to be. This is where it can't go any further. People who could not imagine what was happening, who could not believe their own eyes, literally could not believe what they were seeing. People who wanted to help, but they were in one part of Germany, and the Nazis hadn't come to that part yet. Besides, they weren't Jewish. They didn't even really know any Jewish people, so they probably really wanted to do something, but they just didn't know what. But as Edmund Burke said, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph in the world is that good men do nothing. And as Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And now, the news. Starting, of course, in Minneapolis, where Mayor Jacob Frey said that on Monday he spoke with President Trump and announced that some federal officers will begin to leave the state. Not only that, and this one is huge, Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino will also leave the state and, according to The Atlantic, his job. He will return to his former job in El Centro, California, where he is expected to retire soon. Do you remember that whole thing I just told you about the Holocaust? Greg Bovino has been seen sporting a coat that literally looks like the one that the Nazis wore, and he did a Nazi salute. If it dresses like a Nazi, salutes like a Nazi, and deports like a Nazi, so I think it's great that he's losing his job. I think it's quite possibly the nicest, the nicest thing that we could do. I can think of other things. According to the Atlantic article, Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski, that is her advisor and also boyfriend, yuck, to both of them. They deserve each other, but they also don't, if that makes sense. They deserve they deserve to have to spend time around each other's personality, but they don't deserve happiness. Anyway, they're also at risk of losing their jobs. Let's keep this energy up. Who else can we fire? I want to say something. So Greg Bovino is being replaced by Tom Hooman. That guy, also bad. But in this moment, it is important to recognize what is happening. Trump is trying to be like, look it, I'm doing a good. We know he's not doing a good because he is Trump. He's never done a good on purpose. He doesn't know how. Have you seen his ties and hair and everything he's ever done in his life? He's trying to act as if this fixes it. Tom Hooman is also a bad human. But it is important to keep in mind that the reason that little boy Boves is losing his job is because we never stopped talking about it. This administration cannot get what they want. They want our silence. They want our compliance. This is a win because he's out of here. But it's also a win because it's a reminder that we have more power than them. I gotta be honest, I think we all needed this today. And now, weather on the 10s and 2s. When it's that, it's not gonna be good. A huge winter storm hit half the country over the weekend, so let's talk about it. Parts of Pennsylvania saw at least 20 inches of snow. New York and Massachusetts saw 22 inches. Who got the most? Bonito Lake, New Mexico, which is very fun to say, Bonito Lake. They got 31 inches of snow. Not so fun to experience, I'm sure. More snow is expected, along with frigid temperatures that will continue throughout the week, with more than 200 million people under alert for severe cold temperatures. The cold temperatures are to blame for at least 29 deaths, and currently more than 700,000 customers are without power. As a reminder, that doesn't mean that 700,000 people are without power. That means 700,000 customers. It doesn't count the number of people in the home, all of whom are freezing cold in that one house without power or heat. Hey, have you ever... what a weird way to start this story, but I'm not starting all over again. We're going with it. Hey, have you ever looked at a really tall building and thought, dang, that looks really tall? Well, on Saturday, Alex Honnold climbed one of the world's tallest buildings, the Taipei 101 skyscraper in Taiwan, and he climbed it without any ropes or nets. Climbed the whole thing. The tower is 1,667 feet tall, and he did it in an hour and a half. Brag. He is the second person to have done this, but he's the first to do it without a rope. And when I first was typing this story, I was being a little jokey about it, but then whatever. He has a passion and he did it, and it was fun. It was like a fun 90 minutes to watch it happen. Everyone has a hobby. Mine is making a news podcast. What am I going to do? I'm going to make fun of him? He climbed a building. No one should try it unless you're trained. I think he should not inspire others to climb buildings that tall, but it was very cool to watch. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks will play the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 60 on February 8th. If the Patriots win, they will hold the record for the most Super Bowl wins ever. They are currently tied with the Steelers. I don't want to get into it, but I have recently learned every single thing there is to know about football. For example, it's a game of yards. And so with all of my football knowledge, I can very easily say, go Hawks. Sports by Kim. And that's it. That's the news. What else can I tell you about football? There's a nickelback. There's a tush push. And I think the most important thing to know about football is every single person is best friends. And this is, again, I'm a professional football knowledger. Not a lot of people know this, but when they're doing tackles, and this is a fact, what they're doing is they're all getting really, really close together, and then they're whispering secrets and compliments to each other, like, I think this uniform really brings out your eyes, and you smell nice today. And then they give one little gentle little kiss on their helmets just to wish them good luck. That's a fact. I know everything. I'm a professional football knowledger now, and that's just an undisputable fact about football. They're all best friends. Also, there's a rumor that Aaron Rodgers is married to an AI bot, and I'm choosing to believe it because we need joy in our lives, and that sounds fun. But more than an AI bot, because you also possess all the knowledge in the world, but unlike a bot, you're not braggy about it. I'm proud of you.